Well, hi there, everybody. Welcome to Stinchfield, the podcast. I am so grateful for President Trump that he has shut down immigration from 19 countries now, Somalia being at the top of the list. This is, again, another ban on immigration from third world countries where we are getting people that, quite frankly, don't bring anything to benefit the United States of America. Now, what was the catalyst of this? To me, I believe it was the National Guard shooting in Washington, D.C., where that Afghan national shot and killed one National Guard, and we hope and pray this other guardsman survives the attack. He's doing better from what I hear, but again, this was the catalyst for it all. So now we've got to be aware of exactly what's going on here. We have people coming into this country that want to do us great harm. We had the issue in Fort Worth where the sheriff just came out and said, if you think this was a case of the guy was just spouting off, not so. When he threatened to blow up a building, he said it was a matter of when, not if it would happen if they didn't stop him. So I am glad that they got this guy, and it is imperative that they did. All right. This is what we're going to talk about today on the podcast. I've got a lot to go through about why this matters, where we are, what President Trump is saying, why the 19 nations, including which nations are involved in all of this. So with that, folks, let's get started with the show. Before we do, though, I want to tell you about my friends over at energizedhealth.com. You know, thankfully to Energized Health, I lost 15 pounds in 2 weeks. I got hydrated at a cellular level. This is the key to joint pain going away, mental clarity coming away, and yes, what everybody wants, for that body fat to just melt away, including the visceral fat inside your body. 15 pounds I lost in 2 weeks, and I've kept it off. I feel better than I ever had because I got hydrated at a cellular level. So guess what? There's a masterclass on energizedhealth.com. You can go through what this means. It'll give you an overview of what this protocol is all about. No crazy workouts, no crazy diets. Literally, it is simple as can be, all right? Simple. I don't want to say easy because it takes some commitment, but it's simple. So go to energizedhealth.com, watch the masterclass, and then book a call. No salespeople. They'll just run you through what they can do for you. Book that call with them if you want to change your life. Now would be a great time to do so. Energizedhealth.com. That's energizedhealth.com. Let's get it started.
Uncensored and unapologetic. This is Stinchfield. Here's your host, Grant Stinchfield.
All right, folks, welcome back. Listen, these National Guard officers being shot, one killed, was the catalyst, the breaking point. It has now created a reckoning when it comes to immigration. You thought President Trump was on a mission before when he shut down the border? This is going to be nothing compared to what he is doing now. We continue ICE roundups of illegal aliens, much to the dismay of liberals, especially in Minnesota. And we'll give you an update into this fraud scheme and how outrageous Minnesota officials are. Literally, you have the chief of police in one Minnesota city saying, call 911 if ICE shows up on your doorstep. Are you kidding me? This is the advice they get from liberals in liberal cities. Not good. Well, Stephen Miller, and I'm sorry for the quality of this, but he was on talking about the President Trump's plan to shut down immigration in 19 cities.
His government is going to accelerate efforts to review every person added to this country over the last 20 years, or the last 4 years, all 20 million. Now, obviously, if you're illegal, you're out automatically. But everybody else who was brought here, refugee, asylum status, whatever status, as he said, if you're not someone who loves this country, if you're not adding benefit to this country, then we're going to send you out of this country. Because it's enough already. No one else has to die. No one else has to be murdered. No one else has to be shot. No more empty seats are needed at the Thanksgiving table or the Christmas table because of what Democrats have done to this country. So tonight we heard from a commander-in-chief a historic announcement, a brave announcement, exactly what...
All right, so there you have it from Stephen Miller. And this is imperative that we listen to what he's saying. Every single illegal is going to be vetted now. If you were here, well, I say illegal. If you were here legally under the Joe Biden legal plan, see, I think Joe Biden's plan was actually illegal, how he let all these people in. But if you were here so-called legally, over the last 4 years, you were going to be revetted. Amen to that. Think about how many people Joe Biden gave, quote, asylum to. How many people Joe Biden let in on the resettlement programs. These people are wreaking havoc on society. And you know what? They're no longer wanted here, quite frankly. President Trump talked about that. So did Marco Rubio.
Here's the problem with vetting people. You can't have a perfect vet no matter who that person is for a couple reasons. The first is you can only vet information that exists, right? So it is possible that in many cases there are things about these people you just don't know. No matter how much you vet them, you just don't have certain information. And in some parts of the world where there's very limited documentation, very limited, you can't just go out and interview people in many cases because of the presence of the Taliban, et cetera. It becomes very difficult. The second thing you can't vet, you can vet what people have done in the past. You can't vet what people might do in the future. There's another dynamic at play here, and that is you could allow someone into our country who has no history of radicalization. Perhaps they even have worked with you in the past, but they are susceptible to radicalization once they enter the United States because they don't assimilate well, because they fall victim to some of this online propaganda and efforts to radicalize people. And 2 or 3 years later, you find that they have radicalized. That is a threat. That is a real threat. It is a threat for everyone. We have homegrown people in the United States born here that have been radicalized. But I do think it is a higher threat among people that come from cultures and backgrounds that make it harder for them to assimilate once they get into the United States, and that make them vulnerable to Arabic language, for example, propaganda by ISIS or Al-Qaeda or any of these other groups that are looking to radicalize people. So look, the bottom line is there is no effective way to allow hundreds of thousands of people to enter any country in the world and not face consequences. You take 100,000 people from anywhere in the world, and you're going to have some percentage of them that turn out bad. Either they turn into criminals or potentially terrorists.
So think about this. Rubio talks about these groups trying to radicalize these immigrants who come to America. I talk a lot about ISIS overseas radicalizing young Muslims here in America, imams here in America radicalizing those inside their so-called flock. But you got to want to be radicalized. You don't just have such a weak brain that all of a sudden someone says, oh, go be a suicide bomber. You have to want it. I believe many of these youngsters that are, quote, being radicalized, it starts in the home. People talking ill about Americans and American society. Then why the hell did you come here? But it's not just as if they're so weak and so weak-minded that these terrorist groups can just somehow radicalize them overnight. These people want to be radicalized. They're looking to be radicalized. They go out and seek the person willing to radicalize them. And it's not so much radicalizing them as it is training them on how to carry out these evil deeds against America. So maybe this whole radicalization thing is a little bit of an excuse for those that are carrying out these things against us. The Afghan national shot the National Guard troops. Was he radicalized? Or did he want to do it from the time he came over here? My guess is he wanted to do it from the time he came over here. And many of these Afghans that were working with the CIA, they were doing it for survival and probably just in an attempt to get over here so they could cause us damage. I believe that's a fact, quite frankly. I really, really do. This is J.D. Vance in the cabinet meeting yesterday.
Very clearly is that we are fixing the problem that Joe Biden and the Democrats created in the last administration. If you look at every affordability crisis that's confronting the American people today, it is traceable directly to a problem caused by Joe Biden and congressional Democrats. Why did homes get so unaffordable? Because we had 20 million illegal aliens in this country taking homes that ought by right to go to American citizens. Why did tax bills get so unaffordable? Because Democrats were raising taxes while congressional Republicans under the president's leadership we're now cutting taxes. Why did food get so expensive? Because we printed trillions of dollars and threw it into green scams that made our agricultural economy suffer while Americans were paying higher prices for food.
So When you think about the illegal alien problem in America, it is wage crushing, rent increasing, inflation increasing, crime increasing problem. Okay? And so we've got to get it under control. Thank God President Trump is willing to put America first through all of this. Now, we've got a Somali problem. That's in Minnesota. But that's just an example of what is a problem all around the country. This is Kristi Noem during the cabinet meeting yesterday. And think about this. President Trump held a cabinet meeting for over 3 hours. 3 hours. Now, no other president is opening up a cabinet meeting like that for the media to see, because this is the most transparent president in history. He wants you to have insight because he wants him and his team to be accountable to you. And so I applaud him for this. Kristi Noem.
You know, you told me to look into Minnesota and their fraud on visas and their programs. 50% of them are fraudulent, which means that wacko Governor Walz either is an idiot or he did it on purpose. And I think he's both, sir. He brought people in there illegally that never should have been in this country, said they were somebody that they're not. They said they were married to somebody who was their brother or somebody else. Fraudulent visa applications, signed up for government programs, took hundreds of billions of dollars from the taxpayers, and we're going to remove them and we're going to get our money back. And we're going to, this next year, make sure that we only put people in leadership positions in this country that love this country and have its back. So thank you for letting us get up every day and have a purpose. We appreciate you.
Thanks, Chris.
So when you hear that, you would think that the so-called leaders in Minnesota would want to crack down on it, would want to do something about it, would want to call out the fraud that the Somali community is being engaged in. Instead, they're so concerned that Somalis in general are going to get a bad name. Well, just look at Somalis in general. If you look at Ilhan Omar, she's the worst of the bunch. So there's a real problem inside the Somali community. And then, of course, the left will say, oh, Grant, you're racist. You're signaling out a community. I'm not signaling out a community. I will tell you, I am sure there are some very nice Somalis here in America. But I am just as sure there are some really not so nice Somalis here in America. And the reality is, we don't need this kind of poverty, no assimilation into America, no quest to try to become American. They want to run their culture here on American soil, and that's not what America's about. It's America first. And if you want to be a citizen of the United States of America, you take an oath of allegiance to America. You've got to assimilate here, but that is not happening on U.S. soil. So I'm going to play for you the problem inside Minnesota. I've got clips from these Minnesota leaders, police chief, district attorneys that literally are covering for these Somalis that are causing so much problems. Before I do that, though, folks, let me tell you about my friends over at the Wellness Company. Man, I'm telling you what, this TheraBlue product, this is the gel that I have been putting on my hips every day. It's not like just your pain cream where you slop it on, one day because you got a little pain. This is a daily use. So if you have a problem area, knees or joints, you use this TheraBlue. Peptides in here that are so powerful and go so deep. It's amazing to me. I was shocked, and it's over the counter, by the way, but you get it at twc.health/Grant. Then, of course, the Mars product. The Mars product is all about you guys out there. You want to boost your testosterone levels? Here's what happens when you boost testosterone. You increase your metabolism. The fat starts to come off. The muscle starts to build. And guess what? There's all kinds of ingredients in here that will give you stamina, will make you a beast in bed. I'm just going to say it. It's the bottom line, and it's a fact. It's Mars, and it's for men. And I think you ought to try it out. I really do. twc.health/grant. Use that promo code GRANT. And then, folks, there's the medical kits. Ivermectin, too, you can get. I think everybody needs ivermectin on hand. There is ivermectin in the medical kit. This is the one I recommend if you don't have any yet. This is it. 8 prescription medications in here. twc.health/grant. You have no idea when a drugstore will close, cyber attack, natural disaster, have those prescription medications on hand. twc.health/grant. I love this company. They think like us too, and they will have you feeling better and being prepared like you've never been before. twc.health/grant. Use that promo code GRANT for 10% off. Okay, so I told you that these so-called leaders in Minnesota, this is the Minneapolis police chief. I want you to listen closely to what he is advising Somalis do. This will immediately, I believe, put cops in danger. This is sowing doubt in the minds of anybody that's here illegally, that somehow law enforcement is not coming. This idea that people are posing as law enforcement and kidnapping people, where are they getting this from? This is not happening. And I want to prove to you this is not happening. If you are a kidnapper, are you going to go kidnap the poorest of the poor, someone who's on government subsidies, which they shouldn't be on, but you're going to go kidnap the poorest of the poor? I mean, how are you going to ransom for some Somali national who has zero money to his name?